Hi everybody, have you been spending a lot of money on tarot decks like I have? Are you on a budget like I am now? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you my 10 top most affordable decks. So stay tuned and let's get to it. Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. This is Rob. For those of you that are new, welcome to the channel. For those of you that are coming back, welcome again. And in this video, I'm going to show you my 10 most affordable decks. Not only are they affordable, but I find them to be also truly beautiful decks. So let's get started, you guys. With number 10, we have The Tarot of Mystical Moments by Catherine Wells Stein. So this is the front of the box. This is the side of the box and the back of the box. Many of you are probably familiar with this deck, and if you're not, it is really truly a beautiful deck. I love this deck. I work with this deck often. I use this deck all the time. And so let me show you what this deck is all about. The box opens up into two pieces. This is the top of the box, and it's a very sturdy box, as you can see. And the deck comes with a book like this, and the book is really nice. It's got that rose petal feeling to it. It is pretty standard. It goes really right into the major arcana and the minor arcana. But one of the very special things about this book, you guys, is that the creator has done such a wonderful job at writing that really nice little book. I think you'll find it instrumental, or at least you'll find it interesting to know what the creator of this deck intended some of the cards to be. And the one thing that is very special about this deck as well is that it comes with some extra cards. And by the way, you guys, this deck came for under $22 for me. That's how much I paid in my location. I paid under $22 for this deck. That's why I made it to number 10, because it is not the most inexpensive one, but it is so beautiful that for the price that you pay, I really think it's worth the money. It comes with a couple of extra cards, not with a couple, with 4 extra cards. The King of Wands, the King of Cups, the King of Swords, the King of Pentacles, and the Emperor, and they depict them all as woman figures. And so what they did is they included this ones, and then they also included the normal king. When I say the normal, I mean they included the king pictures with male figures on them. So but what I did is I took out this ones and I left my kings in there, because that's what makes me more comfortable with. And so this deck is gilded. It is sort of on the larger side. As you can see, this is a Los Carabeo card, and this one is taller and wider. But this is a really beautiful deck, like I said. And for the money that you pay, it's just a piece of artwork, this deck. Every card has its own story, and it just tells you so much. And I'm thinking of doing a review of my most chatty decks, and I think that this would be definitely one of my most chatty decks out there in my collection. Beautiful deck, absolutely stunning. The paper stock is nice. It's on the glossy side, but it doesn't matter to me. I really like it. It's very nice to shuffle with. Really beautiful, you guys. The images, I find the images to be absolutely stunning, and I love working with this deck. So when it comes to shuffling, this is a pretty good deck to work with. The cards fall really well, and it is just a delight to work with. If you do a fan situation, it works pretty well as well. So let's flip a couple of cards and see what we have. We have the 7 of Swords. And if you're not familiar with this deck is really artistic, and it is innovative, and there's nothing else like it in the markets. Just one of those beautiful, interesting decks that you can read for days and never get tired of it. So deck number 9, the Sacred She Tarot. This is a deck and guidebook, and it's by Mahadeva Padma. And you guys, I bought this deck for less than $20 in my location. So I am very happy with the fact that this is a beautiful presentation. It's such a colorful deck. I feel like I really got my money's worth. It comes with a nice book. I'm going to show you about it. The presentation is really beautiful, as I just mentioned. It opens up like this. It is a magnet box. This is what the side of the box looks like. This is what the back of the package looks like. And it's a very nice box. And the colors of it is just colorful all around. And it's a nice sturdy box. You get a really nice book with it. And for under $20, you really get everything that you need from this and more, if you ask me. The book is really well written. It has a picture of the card here, and then it just gives you a pretty good explanation for every single card. So that's the book, you guys. Let me show you what the cards look like, because they are truly beautiful. And as I mentioned, it comes in a presentation like this. You open the box, and then in here you get your cards, which are in a talk box. You know, for under $20, you really cannot go wrong with this deck. The cardstock quality is one of my favorites because it's a thicker cardstock and it's got that rose petal feeling, but it's like a tamed rose petal feeling, if I may add. And this is a different sort of a deck. This is not RWS. It's a different sort of, it runs and it sings its own melody. And so one of the things that really attracted me to this deck was the price, of course, and that this deck is unusual. I never seen a deck like this. I find it easy to work with. I work with it a lot, or I work with it often, and I'm very happy with it. So these decks that I'm doing, you guys, you're going to find out that not only is the price affordable, but I also like working with these decks. I use these decks on an often basis. And so they sort of meet the criteria of affordable as well as useful and practical. And all of these decks fall on that category. And so, as I said, this deck runs and sings its own melody. And so you pretty much get the card, you get the number, and then you get a keyword here. And this one is generosity, as you can see. This one, number 7, is timing. And this one is understanding, anxiety. And so you pretty much just do your reading and you just flip the card, you look at the picture, and then you see the keyword here, and that's pretty much your reading. That's what it is. So it's a very simple deck. It's very easy and very pleasant to work with. And by the way, you guys, at the end of the video, I'm going to add a little piece of information that otherwise wouldn't have been on this deck. So stick around and let me show you what that is when we finally get to the end. Let's move on to deck number 8. Deck number 8, Influence of the Angels Tarot by Jody Beginski Barbesi. And this is a US game systems deck. And I have to tell you guys, this deck is really one of my favorite decks, not only because of the price, but I like everything about this deck. I love the readings that I do with it. It's very concise. It tells me from an angelic side the meanings and the messages that it wants to share with me. So let me show you all about this deck. It comes with a 2-part box like this. And this is a pretty sturdy box and a very nice box, by the way. The presentation of this deck is really, really sweet, really wonderful presentation. And it comes, of course, this is the other side of the box. As you can see, it's got that orange in there. It comes with a book like this, which is a really nice little booklet, by the way. It's kind of on the thicker side, which is nice to see. And it has it has 182 pages, and it's really nice written. It gives you the major arcana, it gives you the minor arcana, it gives you a couple of spreads. And it's just a really nice booklet when it comes to the meanings of the cards. And this deck, you guys, ran me for under $20. So for the quality that you get, for the artwork that you get, for the paper stock that you get, is really, really a nice deck for under $20. So let me show you some of these cards. These are gilded. They're gilded in a beautiful gold. And so the drawings are just artwork. Everything is just a piece of artwork with this deck. And so if you're into paintings, if you're sort of into medieval paintings, and of course, if you're into angels, then this is definitely a deck that you might want to get. I love doing readings with this deck. It really has a lot to say to me whenever I do a reading for it. The Seeker always has a fun time with this deck as well, and it is sort of intriguing. So it's one of those decks that I enjoy working with. It's one of those decks that I take out a lot of the times and I work with, and I love the paintings, and I sort of like classical paintings, so this deck works really well for me. And so this is the Influence of Angels Tarot, and it is the number 8, you guys. So let's go to number 7, and this is the back of the card. It is reversible. Deck number 7, Old Style Tarot, created by Alexander Ray, and this is a US game systems. This deck came out not too long ago. It came out just this year, and I saw it online and I thought, wow, this deck looks really amazing. And when I saw the price, I fell even more in love with it. I was able to get this deck for under $19. And so let me show you what you get for under $19, which is really a lot. It comes with a nice box like this, the nice presentation. This is a hardcover box, and it breaks into 2 pieces. You get a nice little booklet with it. I really like this little book, and I've read it and I find it useful. So, and here are the cards. They come in here, and you can pull this piece of cloth so that the cards can come out easily. So this is the back of the card, you guys. They are reversible, as you can see, and paper quality is okay. I don't mind this paper stock. I think that for the money that one pays for, it's a really good one. The size of the card is a bit bigger than your regular Los Scarabeo. This is your classical RWS, but with a different twist. But you will find that it is, if you're starting up with tarot, this is a really great deck to think about. I really like the images. I like the colors of it. I like the fact that it's borderless. I did a whole review on this deck, and it is on the channel. So if you want to look into detail at this deck, please take a look at the channel. But it's just a really nice deck. I totally recommend it. And for under $19, it is totally worth it. So that is the Old Style Tarot by US Game Systems. And let's move on to deck number 6. Deck number 6, you guys, the Paulina Tarot. And this tarot deck I got for under $18. And so for the price, for the quality, for the drawings, because I find Paulina Cassidy to be an amazing artist. I'm a big, big fan of Paulina Cassidy. I have a full review of this deck on the channel. And so if you really want to look at this deck in complete detail, then go to the channel and look for it, because she is amazing and her drawings are really intriguing and really beautiful. They are mystical and they take you to another world, and that is one of the things that I really love about this decks. And she makes several decks, you guys. So it comes in a talk box like this. It comes with a very, very little booklet like this. It's very run-of-the-mill. You're not going to find it very informative. I wish this book would have had a little bit more on Paulina's mind about what the cards mean and what the cards mean to her, but that we didn't get with this one. But it's just a kind of a smaller booklet, and maybe you'll find it informative, maybe you won't. But what's really wonderful about this deck is the cards. Card stock quality is good with this ones. For the price that you get, it's really, really good. Now, if you compare it to a regular Lo Scarabeo, you will see that it is just as long, but it's a bit wider. And you guys, these drawings are just beautiful. If you are into fairy tales, if you feel like you want to do a reading and you want to go to a different world and you just want to be taken away for those 20, 30, 40 or an hour that you're going to be doing your reading, this deck is going to do that for you. There is so much to see. There is so much to encounter. So you'll find a lot of similarities with Mardi Gras because she used to live in New Orleans. And so there is so much to look at here. And there's so many characters that are out of this world. And I have to say this, when I first got this tarot, or when I first was looking at getting this tarot, I wasn't really sure if I wanted it or not, because these drawings didn't really speak to me at the time. But boy, was I wrong. This has been one of the best purchases I've ever made. I use this deck on a regular basis, and I enjoy using this deck every single time. So, you guys, that is the Paulina Tarot. And by the way, this is the back of the card. They are reversible. And when it comes to shuffling, you guys, this shuffles really well. Cardstock is okay. It's not light, but it's not heavy. It just works very, very well. If you want to do a fan situation with this deck, also works pretty good. Not the best, but it works pretty good. The cardstock is a little bit on the thicker side, and maybe that's one of the reasons why I like it. So, Paulina Tarot by Paulina Cassidy. Let's move on to our next deck. Deck number 5, the Thoth Tarot. Now, maybe you guys know this, maybe you don't. I just got started with Thoth about, I don't know, about a month ago, and I'm just loving everything about it. And one of the things that I loved about it as well is that I was able to get this edition of the Thoth Tarot for less than $20. And so for me, it was really worth it. And the drawings that you get with this deck are absolutely stunning. It comes in a talk box like this. And this particular one is by AGM Orania. And this is the larger size deck. This is the booklet that comes with it. It's pretty informative. I mean, if you are just starting with Thoth, then this might be a booklet that you might find a little bit or maybe not so interesting. Of course, there's tons of books on Thoth out there. I've yet to buy one. So if you guys have a recommendation for one of them, please let me know. But this is the booklet that comes with it. And then it comes with a card like this. It comes with a picture of Aleister Crowley, and it comes with a picture of Frida Harris on the other side of the card. So I thought that was really cool about this deck. And these are really larger cards. So you can get this in a smaller size and you can get this on a bigger size. But I chose to get the bigger size. I really like and enjoy bigger card decks. So these drawings are beautiful. The paper quality is a bit on the thinner side, but it doesn't matter because the size is so big that you can't get a super great price and then expect the paper stock to be totally to your satisfaction, or at least to mine. But it is not a bad card stock. It's still pretty good. You just have to gonna be a little bit careful about it because it is on the thinner side, but still does. The printing on this deck is really good, and I think that the quality that you get for the price that you pay is really worth every cent. So that is the Thoth Tarot by AGM Urania, and it is by Aleister Crowley and Frida Harris. By the way, this is the back of the card, and they are not reversible. So if you're into Thoth, you guys, this is definitely a deck that you may want to consider getting. Let's move along and let's get into deck number 4. We're getting into the final 4 decks, you guys. So deck number 4, you guys, the Rider Tarot deck. And this is your classic tarot deck. I got this deck for less than $19, and I've had this deck for a very, very long time. If you're learning with tarot, this is one of the perfect decks to begin with. It is affordable. If you're learning tarot with the RWS, then this is also a perfect deck to have. Now, in terms of quality, is really not the best. This box is falling apart, you guys, because I've had this I've had this deck for so long. This is the booklet that it comes with, and this is a very run-of-the-mill booklet. I don't think you're going to find it very, very useful, but anyway, it comes with it, and you can read it and see what's in there. But these cards are really convenient to use. As you can see, the size is regular size. It's a low Scarabeo card. They are a little bit wider. Paper stock is pretty okay. It's really not the best card stock out there, but I think if you're starting with tarot, and I think that if you're looking for a very affordable deck that is good quality, and by the way, this is by US Systems, I think this is a deck that you're going to find very convenient. And so in terms of shuffling this deck, it shuffles really, really well. And my cards have ran miles and kilometers, and so they are really seasoned and ready to go. But if you want to do a fan situation, it works really well and really, really good. The cards are, of course, your classic Rider, Waite, Smith, and you're going to find that the drawings are pretty concise. You're going to get clear answers. The printing is not the best on this deck, but it will do. And for under $20, you guys, you can't go wrong with this deck. It's a great beginner deck. I think this is a deck that every collector should have on their collection. And so, wonderful deck. This is the Rider Tarot deck, and it is by US Game Systems, under $20, under $19. It is just a perfect deck to have. Let's move on to our next deck, Woodland Wardens. And this is a 52 card oracle deck and guidebook. And by the way, you guys, this is, just as I mentioned, not a tarot deck, but it is an oracle deck, and it made it into the top list because it's just such an amazing deck. I purchased this deck for under $14, and it is just, I saw the price when I was buying this deck, and I was like, is this really for real? And it is for real, you guys. You really get an amazing deck for less than $14. Let me show you what this deck is all about. It comes in a hard box like this. It's a really nice box, by the way. I love the box. I love the presentation of this deck. Everything is done well. So this is the bottom of the box. And this book is very informative, you guys. Every time I do a reading, I refer to this book time and time again because it is so well written. And although on the card you will find a keyword on it, so this one, for example, is the eel and the iris, and then you find the keyword, which is safety. And of course, you can go ahead and make your interpretation of this, but I always read the book whenever I'm working with this deck. And I work with this deck very, very often. And the wording that you find for the definitions of these cards in this book is absolutely wonderful. So I always refer to it. It has a picture of the card here, and then it gives you the reference to the card on the other side. And it's just a wonderful little book. So it's one of those useful booklets which you don't find very often. And so when it comes to the size of the cards, it is a little bit bigger because it is an oracle, and it is a little bit wider and a little bit taller, but they work really, really well. The card stock is really good. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. It just works perfect. It is sort of on the matte side, but they shuffle beautifully. I'm going to show you right now how these guys shuffle, and they just fall perfect. This is one of my favorite decks to work with. I work with this deck almost every day of my life. It's a wonderful clarifier. It is a wonderful addition to when you're doing a reading. And this is what the fan situation looks like. Not the best, but still works really well. And if you're not familiar with this deck, I definitely recommend that you look it over and that you do a little bit of research on this, because for the price that you can purchase this deck. It is so worth every single cent. I really recommend this deck. Beautiful drawings and amazing readings, really, with this deck. So that is the Woodland Wardens. Deck number 2, you guys, the Morgan-Greer Tarot. If you are looking to be transported back to the 70s or early 80s, this is definitely a deck that you're going to want to get. Now, this guy cost me under $19. It is by US Game Systems. It comes in a talk box like this, pretty normal talk box. It comes with a very small pamphlet. It's not even a booklet, it's a pamphlet. So enough about that one. And these are what the cards look like, you guys. If you're not familiar with this deck, I love this deck. I love working with this deck. I use it on an often basis, and it just gives me the answers that I'm looking for straight and forward. The cardstock quality on this deck is pretty good. It's just not the best, but it's also not the worst. They are completely frameless or borderless, and this is what the back of the card looks like. You can turn it around. It's a little bit misleading. Here it has a star, and on this side it doesn't, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of confusing once you turn them around, or if one comes upside down, you don't really notice it, is what I mean. So when it comes to shuffling, this deck shuffles really well. So it's very easy to manage. It's very easy to do a fan situation, as you can see. Cardstock is really good. It's sort of on the matte side, but it just works really well. And this is what the pictures look like. They are totally 70s. Look at this. I love them. I think that this deck is a lot of fun. It takes me back to 1978. It just speaks exactly and tells me exactly what I need to hear. The characters look like they are really out of 1975, and it's just a deck that I really like working with, you guys. This is the Morgan-Greer, and it's a wonderful deck because it is really one of a kind, and it is convenient to use. The cardstock is pretty good quality. So you guys, let's get into deck number 1. Deck number 1, you guys, the Druid Craft Tarot deck, and this deck costed me less than $16. This is an easy deck to find. You can find it almost everywhere online. And what I got for less than $16, I just couldn't believe it. Now, this is a deck that I came across by looking at somebody that I really like on the tarot community. And he said that this was one of his favorite decks. So I thought, I have to look into it. So I did. I went online. I searched for it, I found it, and I saw the price, and I thought, this cannot be. So I ordered it, and it was like a dream come true. This is a hardcover box. It breaks into 2 pieces. That's the front, of course, and that's the back of the box. And so it opens like this. This particular deck is by Red Wheel, and I know that there's a couple of different publishing companies that put it out there, but mine is by Red Wheel, and I'm happy with it. It comes with a book like this. It is not a terribly thick book. It is very good quality. It has the picture of a card here, and then it comes with the meanings of the card here. It has a brief history about the deck, and that's what the book is all about. And then let me show you the cards. This is what the back of the card looks like, and so it is reversible, as you can see. And you guys, the card stock quality on this deck is absolutely wonderful. It is also a larger size deck, so if you compare it to a regular size Los Carabeo, you can see that this is a much larger deck. But this is not too thick, this is not too thin. It is really a good card stock. That's one of the other reasons why this made it to number 1, because for the price that I pay, you get really good quality. The drawings on this deck, if you're not familiar with it, are absolutely beautiful and stunning. Not only did this deck surprised me with the price, but this deck also surprised me that it became one of my favorite decks in my collection. I use this deck very often. I pull this deck all the time. I really like working with this card stock. And when it comes to shuffling, it shuffles really well. So it is a larger card, so holding them might be a little bit of a challenge, but once you manage it, you will have no problem shuffling this. If you want to do a fan situation, it works really, really well as well. So let's pull a card here, and we have the Fool. So just a really amazing deck for the price that you pay, which is under $16. At least that was the price that I paid for it. You cannot go wrong. It is worth every single cent. So that is the Druid Craft Tarot deck number 1. And as I mentioned earlier, you guys, I have another deck that comes as a bonus to this video because it didn't really make it to the top 10, but it is definitely worth showing it as it is an amazing deck for a really good price. Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. This is the bonus deck that I wanted to add to the video because it didn't make it to the top 10, but it is definitely a video that I wanted to include on the list because I got this deck for under $19 and you get really nice quality, you get a very nice presentation, and the cards are beautiful. I consider this deck to be one of the classics. I've had this deck for about 3 years. The cards and the quality are really good. They've held up together very well. Let me show you. This is the box that it comes in. It breaks into 2 pieces. It is by US Game Systems, by the way. Nice box. It comes with a little booklet that is not so informative, I'm afraid. It goes into the major and minor arcana right away, so I don't think you're going to find that very useful. But let me show you what these cards look like. This is the back of the card, and it is reversible. And if you compare it to a regular size card, you're going to see that they are a little bit taller and a little bit wider. I love this card because it is the color palette is sort of a pastel, but they all have a hint of gold on them, and that's what I find really, really good. Now, this is a matte paper. The quality of the paper is really not bad. It is not the best, but it's not the worst either. It's really okay. I'm satisfied with it. As I mentioned earlier, I've had this deck for about 3 years and it has held up really well considering the fact that I use this deck almost on a very often basis. Now, when it comes to shuffling this deck, it shuffles really well. And this is one of those decks that is chatty, but at the same time, it tells you exactly what you need to hear right away. It is a soft deck, so don't expect this to scream at you. It actually just tells you the answers to your questions or to your concerns in a very soft and mild way. It is artwork, really. I think that Matt Hughes did a wonderful job with this deck. And by the way, you guys, there is another version of this deck that just came out, which is called the Luna. And the Luna is a bit more expensive than this one. This is the first version that came out. And so that is the reason why this deck is on this video, because it is the most affordable out of the two. If you're interested in comparing the two of them, I have a video that I did in just comparing these two decks. So this one with the Luna side by side. So you're going to find that very informative if you're interested in looking at that. But you guys, this is the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck by Matt Hughes, and this came to be the bonus addition to this video. So you guys, the next video that I'm going to be making for the channel is going to be such an informative video. It's sort of a surprise. You're going to find it totally informative. You're going to find it astonishing. So stick around for that video. For now, this is all I have for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think about these decks, you guys. Do you have them? Do you use them? Are any of these decks part of your collection? Let me know. I love to hear from you. And as I always say, you guys, until the next time.